Open loop payment, or the technology that lets you pay your transit fare with any bank card, is becoming very popular in North America. Many cities, from Portland to Chicago, are advertising the ability for you to tap any card in your wallet to get on the train. New York City's new Omni system is centered around open loop. Then why, in a country that has some of the highest railway usage in the world, are open loop payments not even a consideration? And how have Japanese railways created a payment platform that competes with Visa and MasterCard, all out of their humble transit card? Japan is a train country. Trains are such a deeply important part of Japanese culture that they make regular appearances in Japanese media, and jobs at Japan Railways are prestigious. In Japan, there's no need to design a transit card that bends over backwards for normies who have never been on a train, when the average person in Japan is someone who rides a train daily. The main appeal of open loop payments is the convenience for the passerby. With open loop payments, any contactless bank card is already your transit card. Japan saw that and was like, nah man, transit stuff should be optimized for transit, not bent over backwards for people who have never even stepped foot on a train. The problems with open loop payments aren't obvious until you've seen the crowds of people whooshing through fare gates during Tokyo rush hour literally nonstop. Randomly declined cards or delays in processing are unacceptable. In the busiest stations, as many as 60 people per minute pass through each fare gate. Any kind of delay could cause a huge backup in the narrow passageways. Before modern contactless cards, they had staff who punched tickets as people walked through, which happened so quickly that there was no need to stop. Any new technology-based system would have to be at least as fast as the guy with the hole puncher. Enter Felica. The Felica technology was developed with Sony and the Hong Kong MTR. It is able to process a transaction in under 100 milliseconds, and the powerful antennas mean that the transaction won't fail even if you don't tap the card exactly on the reader. Combined with carefully designed fare gates, which are left open by default and only close when they need to stop someone,
Oh, I'm out of money.
the technology had finally caught up to the guy with a hole puncher. Since Japan Railways East launched the Suica card in 2001, usage has exploded. It's still the fastest transit card on the planet, and other railways and transit systems across the country launched their own fare payment systems based on the same Felica technology. Since the entire country settled on a standard technology, the cards quickly became compatible with each other through interagency agreements. A bit of backstory for you all. Japan Railways is split up into different companies for different regions of Japan, which all launched their own IC cards later throughout the 2000s after JR East Suica in 2001. The Kanto region, which includes Tokyo, launched their own system in 2008 called Pasmo, which includes all of these private operators in the city. Pasmo was the first IC card to include full interoperability with Suica, meaning that someone with a Pasmo card can use their card on JR East, or a Suica card on the Tokyo Metro. Thanks to a bunch of agreements between different companies and regions, along with a shared technology based on Felica, many IC cards today in Japan can be used outside of their home region. This mess of arrows shows all the different areas that an IC card can be used. The red box in the middle is now fully integrated, allowing all cards to be used interchangeably. The arrows pointing out from it show the areas where the inside cards can be used, but not vice versa. For example, a Suica card can be used on a Passpy reader of Hiroshima, but not vice versa. The red arrows indicate that not only can these cards be used interchangeably for transit, but also for electronic money, which is a great segue into all the other features that Japanese transit cards have, including EMoney. With transit IC cards built on such a powerful platform, train companies quickly realized the ability to add extra functionality to the card. The cards are used as IDs for JR employees to enter offices, for passengers to reserve empty train seats on trains, and even to operate coin lockers in stations. The most significant feature that the IC card system gained, though, by far, is EMoney, which was added to the Suica card in 2003. By allowing people to use their fare cards to pay for things in the many convenience stores and vending machines in stations, Japan Railways was able to rival the convenience of open loop payments in the West. Now, JR was competing more directly with Visa and MasterCard, all with their own fare card. Suica was elevated from something to just pay for the train to a whole payments platform. Today in Japan, you can use any of the big IC cards as EMoney in most stores across the country. Back on this complicated chart, you can see that intercompatibility between cards as EMoney is represented by the red arrows. Even big international chains like Starbucks and IKEA accept IC cards as payment. So, how did we get here? There were two things that helped speed along the proliferation of e-money in Japan. First, mobile Suica launched in 2004, which allowed people to simply tap their phone instead of needing a physical card. Since Japanese IC cards use a unique technology, this only worked with domestic Android phones at first, since they had to have the integrated hardware for Felica. Today, all iPhones support it, as well as most Android phones sold in Japan. Second, other e-money providers using the same Felica technology began to enter the market. Aside from other transit IC cards, there were banks and other startups offering e-money cards.
Can I pay with Suica?
This helped put Felica readers in more storefronts, especially in the Tokyo region, which could easily accept transit IC cards with just the right software. And with that, a Suica Renaissance era began in Japan. Sony released an at-home Felica reader to pay for online purchases and sign into websites. Japanese airlines issued Felica cards for frequent flyers to board more quickly. Many companies and universities use Felica in IDs to enter buildings and pay for items. And this spaghetti mess of arrows makes another appearance. Let's talk about why it's so complicated. Why are there all these different cards that work together instead of just integrating into one? Well, most transit in Japan is privatized, and it turns out that controlling your own fare payment system is actually a really good business strategy. Controlling their own fare cards allows train companies to issue special commuter passes, create point or reward schemes for spending money using their cards, and they can even make some money on the balances sitting in people's accounts. Banks really like transit agencies that adopt open loop payments, and they're touting it as an obvious modern replacement to closed loop transit cards. But why? Well, letting a transit agency spend millions of dollars installing credit card reader infrastructure across their system, then getting to charge a few % fee on every transaction, all the while sucking up data on where people are going to turn around and sell to advertisers, is certainly a lucrative business. In fact, there have been a few attempts at open loop payments in Japan, but they're really focused on small services mainly for tourists. They haven't taken off in a big way like Felica. I used to be a huge proponent of open loop fare payments. I mean, the logic behind letting people pay for transit fares with the card that's already in their pocket makes a lot of sense. But for transit agencies and advocates interested in keeping transit fares in-house, the Japanese model is probably the best one to follow.